welcome to part 4 of revenue management. This one is looking at demand and supply. Now, if you've covered any sort of economics in your training, this will be very easy to you because this is basic economic theory. So I've put in some extra videos on Canvas which you can go through, and each of these sort of explain it maybe slightly differently. You know, what is demand, what is supply, and why is it important, or how does it work? Once you actually understand demand and supply, you actually start to understand how the world works, because this is what happens for everything that you buy, everything that is available for sale, everything that you buy. This is actually part of what's called the free market economy, where there's demand and supply, and they meet to get a price. We'll come back to that at the end. But once you start to understand this, a lot of other things in the world start to make sense. So, we've got a few terms in the PowerPoint there. You know, suppliers, they're the people who are willing to sell a product. Then you've got consumers, they're the people who want to buy a particular product. So when we say supply, this is the number of units that a supplier is wanting to produce at a set price. And when we say demand, this is the number of things that consumers want to buy at a particular price. So when we say like demand is high, that just means that the number that consumers are wanting to buy is high at the moment. So in a hotel, you know, demand is high for rooms in December. That means that it's their peak time. So we did this little example of, you know, latest iPhone, you know, they come out every couple of years. And how many would you buy at various price points? So, we do a little graph. We put on the bottom quantity. This is the number that you want to buy, number you want to sell. Okay, the number. So that's the x-axis, technically. On the y-axis, the one going up, that's called the price level. And so here, you know, this is $0, this is 0, and up here, especially in the case of the iPhone example we did in class, you know, a very high price point, $3,000, very high. So what I asked in class is, you know, how many would you buy at each price point? You know? And so it started at a very high price, and not surprisingly, not many people want to buy a phone at this price because they don't see the value. So at a high price, not many are sold. So maybe it's up here. But as the price keeps coming down, eventually more and more people wanted to buy it until it got to way out here again, you know, where the price is very low and the quantity is very high, where they go, yes, I want to buy heaps of them at that price point. This is what's called a demand curve. I'm going to put a line through all those. Demand curve. It illustrates what demand is. You can have a look at the other videos on Canvas as well that explain demand. So basically, if price is up, then the quantity demanded goes down. But then if the price goes down, then demand goes up. So this is what's called an inverse relationship. An inverse relationship just means that if one thing goes up, the other thing goes down, or vice versa. So, high price, low quantity. Low price, a much higher quantity. So this is what people are wanting to buy at each price point. So that is a demand curve. Now I know in the PowerPoint that sort of put it there in this nice straight line. It's never actually a purely straight line. But when you're doing economics, you don't want to do curvy line all the time, so you just do a straight, simple line. Okay, this illustrates the concept of value. You'll see this in the PowerPoint. So there has to be value for a consumer to buy something. Perceived benefits less the price. So maybe at this price point, it's too high, so they can't see the value. The perceived benefits is less than the price. But as soon as the price drops, then, oh yeah, okay, perceived benefits, what they get out of it, buying the iPhone, less the price, yes, they get value, they want to buy it at that point. Okay, so that is the demand curve, and that looks at consumers. That looks at consumers and how much they want to buy at each price point. Now, then we work into this second word that's called supply. So in your PowerPoint you'll see it's defined as supply measures the quantity that a supplier is wanting to sell at each price point. So this is where you have to put yourself in, instead of the consumer's point of view, put yourself into the shoe of the seller, okay? The person who's selling these products. So we're using the example of the iPhone. So let's say you are running Apple. What would their perception, well, not their perception, but what would their motivation be at each price point? So if the price was $100, would they want to actually sell any? And we go, well, no, because it costs more. You know, the screen and all the components and battery and everything. No, we don't want to sell any at that price point. What if the price is like $500? Well, we're not making much of a profit. We'll sell a few. Okay. As the price keeps on going up, I'm like, oh yeah, more price. Let's maybe open another factory, produce some more. Then the price keeps on going up, so oh yeah, well, actually, heaps of profit on this. And then the price keeps on going up until, you know, $3,000. And they're like, wow, if we sell this for $3,000, let's open a whole bunch of factories and let's produce a lot of iPhones. That's going to be really good. We're going to make heaps of money out of this. So the supply curve actually goes something like this. So this shows the motivation level at each price point to supply the market. So at a low price, there's no motivation, there's no profit in them because they've got costs they have to do. As the price goes up, there's a bit more motivation. They go, oh yes, yeah, okay, we'll make some at this level, small profit, but as the profit keeps getting larger and larger, the motivation gets more and more until they get to this level, and big amount that they want to make. So that is supply at each level. So as the price increases, quantity increases. So this is not an inverse relationship, this is just a normal relationship. The price goes up, quantity goes up. The price goes down, quantity goes down. So positive or normal relationship. So that's called the supply curve. And that's what the suppliers or sellers are wanting. Okay, now I put the two together. And this is the interaction between demand, what the consumers are wanting, and sellers, what the sellers are wanting. Because really, let's think about our very high price point. Apple would love to sell all the iPhones for $3,000 or even more. But what's the reality? What's the reality? What are they going to be able to achieve? Well, we simply put on the demand curve. Onto that, we put the demand curve on, keep the supply curve there, and we'll see what the interaction is. Just going to put that back on, and remember had the supply curve still there. So the supply curve is what the suppliers are wanting to do. Demand curve is what the customers are wanting. At $3,000, customers don't want to. It's far too expensive. But at $3,000, at that same price point, Apple would love to make that much, make heaps of it. But that's not going to happen. And what happens is we want to look at the intersection between these two lines. This point right here. Now some call it the market equilibrium. That's just a fancy way of saying the natural point where actually suppliers and consumers come together and go, well, that's a good price for it to be, and every unit that is made is then sold. Okay? So at this theoretical price here, this quantity here, every single unit is sold to consumers who want them. So theoretically, everyone's happy. So that's, in theory, in a free market, that's what happens. That the supply and demand get put together, and that is theoretically the best price to be set to actually and have the best quantity used. Now, sometimes there isn't a market equilibrium. Sometimes things don't quite go right. Sometimes bad research, market research happens. And sometimes, so for example, maybe the price gets set a little bit too high. Maybe the price, initially Apple goes, well, we'll set it at $2,500. Apple will make this much, but consumers will only want to buy this much. That's what's called a surplus. They've made too many items. They go, oh no, we've made too many items, we need to keep reducing the price. So, free market comes in, they go, right, keep on dropping the price point, and hopefully they'll get back to the happy market equilibrium. But sometimes the opposite can happen. Sometimes you can have something that comes out into the market that is underpriced. Maybe they do, maybe something is so lowly priced that the seller didn't actually realise the price, and they could charge more for it. And so maybe they set the price in at something ridiculously low, $700, $500, I don't know. So they only go, well, we'll just make this many, put it out to the market, and consumers go, wow, what a good price, and they want this much. This actually leads to a shortage. Where consumers actually buy everything, they buy what's produced, but they still want more at that price point, and so they want to keep on buying because it's such good value. So that's a shortage. Again, not ideal. So in this case, the seller should realise, well, maybe we set the price a bit low, so when they make a bit more, they actually raise the price and come back to the market equilibrium. So that's, in theory, what free market economies do, in that it tries to make sure that there's not a oversupply or undersupply, there's no shortages, there's no oversupplies, and sometimes it works really well, but to be honest, sometimes it doesn't work well at all. Okay, just going to put demand curve in, supply curve. Right, so in the class and in the workbook there is the Suzuki exercise. So you're going to do the exact same thing, plot each of the points where the consumer wants to buy, plot where Suzuki want to sell at, and hopefully you'll figure out roughly the ideal price to sell it to. Okay. Now sometimes there's this thing called elastic and inelastic demand. So elastic just means the more elastic something is, the more it changes. So we've got a normal demand curve here, but sometimes, depending on the item, it doesn't actually look like this. If you plotted it, it may look more like this. So the steeper it is, for every change in price, the quantity drops considerably. Oh, I've got that around the wrong way. Sorry. Should be around the other way. We're looking at elastic. For every slight change in price, sorry about that guys, for every slight change in price, the quantity drops dramatically. These are sometimes useful for luxury items or things that aren't necessities. So I'll put some examples there: Sky TV, overseas holiday, Spotify, Netflix, if it's a luxury that is. So it looks quite flat. So on the PowerPoint, it's quite flat. If you're selling to this type of segment or this type of product, you need to be aware that the customer is quite price sensitive. So if you try raising the price too much, you're going to have a lot of customers not want it anymore. So these are for non-essentials. That's what happens. Okay, back to the other one, which is inelastic demand. And this is quite steep. So this is more common with essential items: rent, power, internet, basic food costs. You have to have certain things. And so people will just have to go, well, I have to pay for it no matter what the price is. So even if the price goes up, only a small portion of customers drop off. So it's quite a steep curve. So some segments in hospitality are like this. I'm thinking of commercial sector when they come and stay in hotels. They are quite inelastic. They need a hotel, or they need to come for a business meeting. They don't really care what the price is. They are not price sensitive. Okay. So yeah, so price sensitivity, there is an equation there. We're not covering that in this course at all. Okay. I cover in the course, sometimes there's a constraint in the amount of supply that you can actually do. Very common with hotels. There's only so many hotels that can be there this week. If you want any more, well, you actually have to build a new hotel, and that's a couple of years away. So you actually have a constraint or a hard cut-off, hard limit. So supply, sometimes we get to a point and that's it. So if the demand curve starts to move up to that hard limit, then the price will just keep on going up and you have 100% occupancy. Okay, so this is something of what can happen in the hotel industry. You have your supply of hotels, maybe it's not 3,000, but maybe the market for the Auckland CBD, somewhere there's a happy median that customers are willing to pay, that suppliers are willing to supply at, and you have a market, that middle price that is roughly correct for that market. Right. The final part is maybe there's a change in demand or a change in supply. There's a couple of examples in the PowerPoint where demand or supply change. So for example, this would involve the line changing. So sometimes they're demand related, so maybe there's a concert for maybe Lord, suddenly announces a concert. On that day, demand will change and demand will increase because all of a sudden more people want to come and stay. So the demand curve increases, and it increases to the right. So demand increases, more people want to come to the law concert, the price goes up, and the number of rooms also goes up. So important thing, always keep looking at external factors, things that will change demand or supply. Now another example that I gave was, a big tsunami comes through Auckland CBD, wipes out a third of all hotels in Auckland CBD. Supply now reduces. The number of hotel rooms has gone down. So, supply decreases. So, what happens? The quantity sold, that's also gone down, but the price goes up. So you're able to charge a little bit more if supply is constrained. So, think back to the pestle analysis. These items can change the demand curve. So be aware of those factors. Okay, what does all this mean? So, firstly, you've got to find an ideal price. If you price it too low, you're going to have unsatisfied demand. You're going to have 100% occupancy, but you probably could have charged more. If you price too high, well, you're going to have empty rooms. You're going to have oversupply. Second point, you've got to create value. Always think about the value proposition, that formula. Value equals perceived benefits minus price. By getting that right, pushing up the perceived benefits increases the number of people demanding a hotel room. And the third point, events can change demand or supply. So external events can change the curve, just like that. And so you've got to be on top of those factors when you're thinking about hotel and changing pricing accordingly. So there's some questions there, some analysing questions that you can go through. We will cover a bit more when we come back to pricing in part 7. But yeah, demand and supply.